Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank and Periera. Over the next half an hour, we'll bring you a roundup of all the significant events that have happened around the world this week. But first, a look at the headlines. UK publishes Brexit plan that sparks rebellion. Prime Minister Theresa May under pressure as Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson resigns. Junior Brexit Minister Steve Baker also steps down. "12 boys rescued from a flooded cave in northern Thailand to be discharged from hospital on Thursday. Last of the 12-member wild boar soccer team and their coach were brought out of the Tham Luang cave near the border with Myanmar on Tuesday night. Boys sent video messages thanking the world for their support. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and South Korean President Moon Jae-in review bilateral relations. Both countries signed 11 MOUs in the fields of biotechnology, bioeconomics, information and communications technology and telecommunications. World's largest mobile facility now in Noida, India expanded Samsung facility to produce 1.25 crore cell phones and provide new jobs to over 2,000 people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says complementary strengths of India and Korea will create IT civilizations in both nations. And at least 200 people killed and over 60 reportedly missing in floods and landslides in Japan. Record rainfall in western part of the country forces 2 million people to flee their homes. Area receives 3 times the usual rainfall for the whole of July. Heat creates new dangers for survivors. Well, the British government published its long-awaited Brexit blueprint on the 12th of July, hoping to restart talks with the EU, but its launch was mired in farce after a protest by MPs briefly suspended a sitting of the House of Commons. The white paper, which sets out plans for close economic ties with the bloc after Britain leaves the EU in March, had already sparked 2 ministerial resignations and revived talk of a revolt against May. Here's a detailed report. The United Kingdom hit the headlines again, with 2 senior cabinet ministers submitting their resignations on the Brexit matter. Brexit Minister David Davis resigned days after Prime Minister Theresa May secured the cabinet's backing for her Brexit plan despite claims from critics that it was soft. Junior Minister Stephen Baker quit shortly after Davis. In his resignation letter, Davis said the government's negotiating approach will lead to further demands for concessions from Brussels. Davis was appointed to the post in 2016 and was responsible for negotiating the UK's EU withdrawal.
My fear is that they'll take what we've offered already and then demand some more. That's been their practice throughout the last year. And I fear, in fact, that if anything, this is just the start.
But you could see that coming for a very long time.
Well, not with this, because we've only been talking about this for a week. And it seems to me we're giving too much away too easily, and that's a dangerous strategy at this time.
Soon after Davis, UK's Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson also resigned amid growing political crisis over UK Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit strategy. The 2 resignations leave May badly exposed at the top of a government unable to unite over Britain's biggest foreign and trading policy shift in almost half a century. However, May paid tribute to Boris Johnson and David Davis for their respective roles.
Including the possibility of no deal. But I want to recognise the work of the former Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, for the work he did to establish a new department and steer through Parliament some of the most important legislation for generations. The Foreign Secretary demonstrated in promoting a global Britain to the world as we leave the European Union. And I'm also pleased to welcome my honourable friend, the member for Esher and Walton, as the new Secretary of State for exiting the European Union.
Embattled British Prime Minister Theresa May appointed Jeremy Hunt as Foreign Minister. The appointment of Hunt, the long-serving health minister, sees a close May ally replace the maverick Johnson and could alter the Brexit balance of May's top ministerial team.
My principal job at a time of massive importance for our country is to stand foursquare behind the Prime Minister so that we can get through an agreement with the European Union based on what was agreed by the Cabinet last week.
Meanwhile, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said Germany and other members of state want to maintain a close relationship with Great Britain after they leave the EU and keep a spirit of friendship during talks.
Even after Britain leaves, we want to have a close relationship with them. And I think the same goes for all the members of the European Union. We are still Europeans, even if we are not in the same European Union.
Wir bleiben Europäer, auch wenn wir nicht in der gleichen Europäischen Union sind.
The UK is due to leave the 28-member European Union on March 29, 2019. May has been wrestling with how to enact Brexit without jeopardizing business with the world's biggest trading bloc of 27 countries while forging new global deals. If May survives the domestic political turmoil, she still has to convince European Union leaders that her proposals can work. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said that he had a very strong relationship with British Prime Minister Theresa May, having earlier scorned her Brexit strategy, which he said had probably killed off hope for a future US-British trade deal. Earlier, Trump had directly criticized May's plans to leave the EU, saying it had probably killed off hope of a US-British trade deal after she failed to take his advice on how to negotiate. The US president also has described Boris Johnson, one of the leading critics who is seen as a potential challenger to May, as a very talented guy, and said that the former foreign secretary would make a great prime minister.
I think it was a very, very productive 2 days, and we arrived here last night. We had a dinner where I think we probably never developed a better relationship than last night. We spoke for an hour and a half. And it was really something. And today we're talking trade, we're talking military. We just looked at some incredible anti-terrorism things that are being done here in conjunction with the United States. And the relationship is very, very strong.
Joining me for a chat this week to talk about this is former Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee. Ambassador, thank you for joining me on the program. Is Brexit becoming a political disaster for Britain?
Well, it always was, and it's becoming worse. Theresa May, as Prime Minister, inherited a mess, and since her taking over through her own actions, as well as just the result of politics in Britain over Brexit, it's become messier. The meeting in Chequers with her cabinet was was itself an indication of how divisive this whole Brexit is within not just the people of Britain, forget about Scotland and Wales, not just within the people of Britain, but in her own cabinet. So you have arm twisting going on in Chequers, after which she announces that they have agreed on a policy, which promptly led to the resignation of the minister in charge of the Brexit negotiations, as well as the person who's been criticizing her policies no matter what she did, which is Boris Johnson. Also, if at all things break down to the point of demanding an end to her leadership, he's one of the leading contenders. He's never hidden his ambition on that score. So yes, to speak clinically, there seems to be as yet no coherent policy from Britain on exactly how to deal with the main sort of issues which have been extremely difficult to tackle so far. Most importantly at the moment being the hard border or the soft border between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Sure.
Secondly, on the one thing, Theresa May as well as her cabinet do not want to compromise is free movement of people.
Right.
The European Union rests on 4 principles: the free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor. Labor means people.
People.
And on that, they are not willing to compromise. Theresa May herself, as Home Secretary, was one of the toughest people on immigration. She remains philosophically extremely tough on immigration. And therefore, these two issues, as well as others, but these two main issues, if you look at the flip side of the coin to the European Union, they will not accept, and they've made it very clear, that the cardinal principle of free movement of people is essential. So a soft Brexit is what she's looking for. Membership of, access to the single market, membership of the customs union, and so on and so forth, which she then promptly denied in Parliament.
Right.
So the European Union can still say very truthfully that we still don't know what they're asking for.
Indeed. Are the resignations of David Davis and Boris Johnson a troubling sign of things to come?
Oh, absolutely. Things that are happening and of things to come. Already, there's a major move against her leadership. Signatures are being obtained by those who are in this game for demanding a leadership vote, a leadership change, and so on. So she's beleaguered from within her cabinet. She's beleaguered from within her party. Now, these ministers who resigned and who are therefore now free to express their opposition from outside the cabinet much more freely are going to be in Parliament.
So where does this leave Theresa May?
It leaves her completely beleaguered. It leaves her weak whenever she tackles these issues with the European Union. It leaves her more or less at the mercy of internal Conservative Party, the Tory party politics. It's not an enviable position. I don't think anybody would like to be in her shoes right now.
And then there is also the Trump factor, the outburst on the issue.
There is indeed. I mean, an embrace by President Trump in a country where he is extremely unpopular is almost like the kiss of death. I mean, in the press conference, he says, yes, I did say Boris Johnson is a man of great talent and could be a prime minister. His interview with The Sun, with the huge headlines that the Brexit deal, which the newspaper characterized as the Brexit deal is dead, Trump's advice goes unheeded, and that sort of thing. I mean, of course, on the one hand, you can say that is Trump, but for the President of the United States, even a completely unpredictable and a dysfunctional kind of president like Trump, he still is the president. And for him to say that he more or less made it clear that a soft Brexit would make it extremely difficult or impossible for the one thing that Theresa May wants most of all, which is after Brexit to negotiate a free trade treaty with the United States as her country's savior in the economy, which he dismissed as saying that if that happens, the free trade agreement can't happen because we'll be negotiating with the European Union, not with Britain. So yes, it's 29th of March is not very far away. Something has to happen. Even a clumsy compromise may result, a kind of transition period for which has been talked about for months now, giving a little more time. But one thing is absolutely certain, that the net result of Brexit is going to be unfavorable to Britain.
All right. On that note then, I'd like to thank you, Ambassador, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Now, the daring rescue mission in the treacherous confines of a flooded cave in Thailand came to an end on Tuesday. Divers rescued all 12 boys and their football coach from the flooded cave 18 days after they got trapped there. The grueling 18-day ordeal claimed the life of an experienced volunteer diver and gripped the world's attention. Here's a report.
Nearly 17 days after they were trapped inside a cave, a young Thailand soccer team and its coach were rescued in northern Thailand.
This unity is not only with Chiang Rai or Thailand, it's a global unity. This incident was more than a life-saving mission. It's gone beyond that. It is the unity of all nationalities.
กู้ภัยกู้ชีพ
The country's annual monsoon flooded the cave while they were still inside, prompting a massive search and rescue effort. In a high-risk operation involving 19 divers, more than 1,000 personnel were involved on the final day in the rescue work, including divers from the Royal Thai Navy and others from 7 countries.
วันนี้ขอแถลงข่าวดี
We officially announced the good news that we have rescued the last 5 trapped people from the cave safely. With the doctor's permission, relatives can see the children through a glass
ไปเยี่ยม
pane.
แบบดูนอกกระจกได้ทันทีคืนนี้
ภารกิจการค้นหาและกู้ภัยได้สำเร็จลุล่วงลงแล้ว
The rescue mission was accomplished after 17 days spent on it. It resulted in all of the 13 affected people and rescuers successfully coming out of the cave safely. I would like to reiterate my sincerest gratitude for the determination and sacrifice of all involved in the mission, every organization, civilian, volunteer and media, both Thai and foreign, who gave support in terms of expertise, manpower, machine and all of the equipment. We also received moral support and friendship from friendly countries worldwide that led to the mission being well achieved.
และไมตรีจิตจากมิตรประเทศทั่วโลก
Media from all over the world covered the rescue from the moment the effort was mounted to bring out the group. The only unfortunate note was struck when a Navy SEAL lost his life in the operation.
จริงๆมาถึงที่นี่ตั้งแต่วันศุกร์ที่แล้ว
I believe the press are as happy as me because all 13 trapped people have been rescued.
มีรายงานออกมาว่า 13 คนเนี่ยออกมาหมดแล้ว
Thank you so much for getting the boys out. I'm so proud of former Navy SEAL who sacrificed his life.
ไปดูค่ะอยากไปดูแต่เขาไม่ให้เยี่ยมค่ะ
I want to see them at the hospital every day. I want them to be healthy.
ใจช่วยทุกวันเลยค่ะอยากให้เขาออกมาดีๆอย่างนี้ทุกวันเลยค่ะ
The boys, aged between 11 and 16, and their 25-year-old coach are now being treated in hospital. There are concerns that they may have consumed contaminated water. Immediate recovery could involve replenishing fluids and combating the effects of starvation and dehydration. According to a senior health official, most of the boys were in good condition and showed no signs of stress. Thailand's Prime Minister said the boys were given anti-anxiety medication to help with their rescue.
This is the period of time when we will need to take care of them. Their mental health is very good, maybe because they stayed together. Also, we need to admire the coach who took care of them well.
US President Donald Trump tweeted his congratulations, describing the emergence of the last 4 boys and their coach as a beautiful moment. UK Prime Minister Theresa May wrote, "The world was watching and will be saluting the bravery of all those involved." The Tham Luang cave system will now be closed for some time. Thailand Prime Minister has pledged to increase security to make it safer, with a view to developing it into a tourist destination following the worldwide exposure. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but we've got much more lined up for you on the other side from around the world. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We have in several regions of the country, arsenic concentration can be even up to about 1 milligram per liter. Just about 20 grams of this powder will remove arsenic from 1,000 liters of water. So water can simply flow through it and you get clean water. So today we can give this technology, or we can produce clean water at a cost of 2 paisa per liter. Most of our universities, there is no instrumentation culture. Unless you build state-of-the-art infrastructure, your students are not trained.
Watch Eureka with Dr. T. Pradeep, Professor, Department of Chemistry at IIT Madras, Saturday 4 p.m. and Sunday 12 noon only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. This is World Panorama. I'm Frank Periera. Well, deadly rains killed nearly 200 people in Japan. Homes of around 10,000 people were buried by landslides or submerged in floodwaters due to floods that caused havoc in the country. Rescuers manually shoveled dirt to search for missing people. Operations are underway to dig out and clear up after the devastating floods and landslides engulfed the entire neighborhoods. Around 60 people still feared missing. Local authorities are searching by house looking for survivors. The government secured around 71,000 temporary homes for the evacuees. The Japan Met Agency upgraded its alert system to the highest level in large areas of western Japan. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said 54,000 personnel had been mobilized for search and rescue efforts.
被災者の皆様が一日も早く安心して暮らせる、そういう生活を取り戻すことができるように、県、府、そして市町村とですね、力を合わせて全力で取り組んでまいります。
Well, in other news now, on Monday, leaders of India and South Korea jointly inaugurated a Samsung mobile factory. That's the world's largest mobile plant in Noida in Uttar Pradesh. After the inauguration, Prime Minister Modi asserted that it was a big step towards making India a manufacturing hub.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday dedicated the world's largest mobile factory to the country. Modi, along with visiting South Korean President Moon Jae-in, inaugurated the Samsung facility in Noida city of Uttar Pradesh. Built with a budget of over 4,000 crore rupees, the factory will provide jobs to over 2,000 people. Addressing the opening ceremony, the Prime Minister said that it will strengthen relations of India and South Korea.
सस्ते मोबाइल फोन, तेज इंटरनेट, सस्ते डेटा के चलते आज फास्ट और ट्रांसपेरेंट सर्विस डिलीवरी सुनिश्चित हुई है.
The Prime Minister also added that the last 4 years has seen the number of mobile manufacturing factories go up to 120 from 2 in 2014. Over 4 lakh people are employed in these factories. Samsung's facilities employ 70,000 people in India.
भारत दुनिया में दूसरे नंबर पर पहुंच गया है. बीते 4 वर्षों में फैक्ट्रियों की संख्या, मोबाइल फोन बनाने वाली फैक्ट्रियों की संख्या 2 से बढ़कर के 120 हो गई है. और खुशी की बात है कि जिसमें से 50 से अधिक तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ यहां नोएडा में है. इससे 4 लाख से अधिक नौजवानों को सीधा रोजगार मिला है.
The factory is being made under the Make in India policy of the Modi government. The South Korean tech giant makes 67 million smartphones in India. The new plant is expected to escalate its output to nearly 120 million phones per year. After inaugurating the factories, both Modi and Jae-in visited the production line of Samsung and toured the factory. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, moving on now, as far as this particular visit of the South Korean president to India is concerned, India said that it will play its own role in the Korean peninsula as a stakeholder in peace. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserted that India has deep interest in that region and will never shy away from its responsibilities. Modi's statement came after a summit-level meeting with Korean President Moon Jae-in, who was on a 4-day visit to India.
Eleven agreements were signed after a summit meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and South Korean President Moon Jae on Monday. The agreements include increase in cooperation in the fields of trade, technology, culture, medium and small industries and climate change, among others. Both leaders also announced their intention to increase bilateral trade from $29 billion to $50 billion over the next 10 years.
अपने कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट को अपग्रेड करने की दिशा में आज अर्ली हार्वेस्ट पैकेज के रूप में एक ठोस कदम उठाया है. अपने संबंधों के भविष्य और विश्व में हो रहे रैपिड टेक्नोलॉजी चेंजेस को देखते हुए हमने साथ मिलकर इनोवेशन कोऑपरेशन सेंटर्स की स्थापना और फ्यूचर स्ट्रेटेजिक ग्रुप का गठन करने का भी निर्णय किया है.
Indicating India's plans to play a bigger role in Asia, especially in the Korean Peninsula, Prime Minister Modi said India is a stakeholder in peace in the region. The South Korean president supported Prime Minister Modi's Act East policy.
I explained to the Prime Minister the Korean government's efforts and initiatives to establish permanent peace on the Korean Peninsula and expressed my gratitude to India's unwavering support. To that, the Prime Minister replied that he will continue to cooperate.
On par with any Western nation when it comes to development, the South Korean president asserted that his country can partner India's progress in any area. A vision group will be created to tap the synergy between both countries.
अपने परामर्श और समन्वय की गति बढ़ाने का निर्णय लिया है. सचिव स्तर के 2+2 डायलॉग और मंत्री स्तर की जॉइंट कमीशन की आगामी मुलाकातें इस संदर्भ में काफी महत्वपूर्ण होगी.
To increase people-to-people contact, the South Korean president assured India of considering the proposal of visa on arrival. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and he also met President Ramnath Kovind separately.
India-Korea relations have hardly any political hiccups, and it has potential to grow, and it is growing. It will also help peace in Korean Peninsula. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Raj Thakur in Delhi.
And finally, the Rolling Stones may have come to the end of their latest tour, but the rock group who formed in England in 1962 are showing no signs of slowing down and have announced a new expanded partnership with Universal Music Group. I'll leave you with glimpses from their recent tour. Until next time, this is Frank Rausen Periera signing off.